First and foremost, I want to thank everybody for being here. This is by far the biggest turnout I've seen in helping us track down Franklin's bumblebee. Franklin's bumblebee was last seen just up the road where we're going to head in a couple of minutes in 2006. And the more boots on the ground, the more people we have looking for this particular critter, the better the chances are.
Even though it hasn't been observed recently, I'm optimistic that it's still out there. We just haven't found it.
If I see a bee with a black abdomen, I'm going to suspect it's Franklin's.
The cinematography was absolutely spectacular. One of my favorite things was the macro shots that they did, and they kind of slowed it down to where you could actually see the bumblebee's wings flapping. It really gave you such an up close and personal view of these beautiful animals. I also loved the interviews, getting a chance to know everyone and everything that people were saying. It was so educational. I had no idea that an animal would be on an endangered species list for 12 years, and that just seems kind of crazy, especially for a bumblebee and how important bees are to our living and to our world. So there were a lot of things where the interviews, I think, were spectacular, gave me a deeper understanding of what we're facing. It gave me a better idea of kind of how to help the bees and stuff like that. I had no idea that some of these man-made bee colony things could actually be harmful. So that was really helpful. Loved the creativeness about the ideas that people were saying about everyday spaces, the grassy medians and the highways, about planting flowers there, where you have those large power lines and the power towers, where it's just a grassy area, how you can fill that with flowers so that the bees can pollinate. All of these things were great things to know. Very educational, really well done, and comprehensive.
It is about the salvation of bumblebees as a whole, as a species, and what we can do as a society, as humankind, to ensure that their survival stands and that the environment around them is, of course, not negatively impacted, because as we know, bees are such a crucial part of the circle of life and the circle of nature in itself. So there are a lot of great lessons here that go well beyond just bumblebees and what they are and how they function and how they're searched for, but also about the environment and how these things have these symbiotic relationships with one another.
It was very informative. You know, I always say the strength of a documentary rides and dies on the subject matter. And this is really interesting subject matter. Like, I learned way more about bees than I ever thought could be learned about bees, really. And I've always thought bees were interesting, but I've never had the discipline to do the research or to put any effort into learning about bees. So this was right up my alley, off the vibe of I could just sit back and watch and learn. And it was very interesting. I never knew there was multiple types of bumblebees. I thought it was honeybees and bumblebees, and that's it. But you telling me there's this type of bee and this type of bee, and they all look different and they all look the same at the same time. So I thought that was fascinating. And I like the framing of it as like this hunt for this certain type of bee. And that, I think that was very interesting as far as like, I thought that was a good choice as far as keeping it interesting instead of just like a school textbook, just these are the different types of bees. It was like, there's like, it gave it a narrative and an objective. And then also layering on top of that, the message about the environment and, you know, the bees' place in the ecosystem and how we can be more habitat conscious and all of that, layering on top of the narrative of trying to find this one type of bee. And then also I liked how it didn't stop at all the problems. It also offered like, oh, here's some hope, here's some solutions, here's some, you know, it wasn't all doom and gloom. I like when environment documentaries, environment films can offer some solution, some semblance of like, where do we go from here, instead of just ending on like everything's gonna burn.
Really wonderful to see these folks that are so committed, you know, to studying them and preserving them. And just learning to the extent to which they the bumblebees are good for the environment. You always basically knew that, but hearing knowing all the detail about it and the way they go into it here was really wonderful. And I really liked what the fellow said at the beginning about how the bumblebees were so well named, that they're big and they're bumbly and they deliver pollen so well. That was fun. But everybody did so well. The interviews and all the dialogue and everything. Everybody communicated really well. You understood everything so very clearly. The cinematography was great. It was edited nicely. Good use of score. Nicely directed, nicely written, and put together piece.
Eye-opening and captivating journey into the world of bumblebees, shedding light on the alarming decline of their populations and the urgency to save them. This documentary skillfully combines breathtaking cinematography with deeply informative content. It invites the viewers to beauty and intricate details of the bumblebees' natural habitat, immersing them in the stunning landscapes filled with vibrant flowers and buzzing wings. These visual elements help emphasize the delicate balance of nature, and they highlight the crucial role that bumblebees play in pollination and ecological balance. What sets this documentary apart from others is its ability to blend research with compelling storytelling. Through interviews with conservators and passionate beekeepers, the film provides a comprehensive understanding of the factors contributing to the decline of bumblebee populations. It effectively educates the audience about pesticide use, habitat destruction, and climate change, which all pose significant threats to these essential pollinators.
This was so hopeful and entertaining, and also dire future for a lot of species. They have impressive close-ups and aerial views. It was great to see people from different walks of life interested in preserving species such as bumblebees that are crucial to humans' health at the minimum, but mostly about our survival or anything such as life that we know, like right now. I love learning about techniques for identification, preservation, the use of other species for a united front or stronger together, so to speak. The experts' testimonials about bees disease spreading through irresponsible corporate practices and the toxic chemicals used for crops that not only affect bees, but also we have as part of our food intake. It is impressive to see so little action from different governments, and it's up to these people that are passionate and interested in humans preservation of species. It was just very moving, and it's very well told.